So if this is one of your first calls, welcome to the Webfire Wednesday trainings. Of course, you can ask any questions you want throughout the call, and either Sean or Sharon will actually text you back an answer within the chat box while I'm talking, or at the very end of the call, I'll take lots of questions live and stuff too. So either way, you'll get your questions and such answered. If by chance we miss anything, or if you have a question later that pops up once the call's done, you can always write our support, which is just support@webfire.com. Or of course, you can also use the help desk inside of Webfire. Just click on the support tab there, and in case there's ever an email issue or anything like that, that's basically a guaranteed way to make sure that you see the response back and all that good stuff right there. So pretty fun stuff on the call today. Couple things to actually cover. First, we'll talk about some of the common SEO myths and some of what our latest data findings are showing. And on next week's call, we'll actually reveal a lot more of what our latest data is actually showing. Reason why is we basically analyzed a ton of data, and then we analyzed a ton more. And I thought that the computer processing wouldn't be too hard, but apparently it's taken like a fairly long time just to process everything. So we kind of see a preview of what's up, but by next week we'll have a full exact idea of exactly, the exact numbers of what's what, and a whole bunch of more data too. So next week's call we'll talk even more about that, but we'll preview it today as well. So pretty cool stuff I think you guys should enjoy. So again, welcome to the Webfire Wednesday webinars, where again it's every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, where we'll host live training and or a Q&A call for all of our Webfire members. Now these trainings, essentially will either feature myself, Brian Kaz, Sean Casey, both of us at once, or occasionally a featured special guest if we think that their expertise would be of value to our members. So if there's someone out there that we think would be of value or is an expert in a certain area that we think would be of interest, occasionally we'll have a special guest like that as well. That usually will either be myself or Sean. If you're here or registered for the series, you'll get a reminder each week so you don't forget. But if you can't make one, we'll have the recordings in the members area within a day of any of the calls under the training tab on the left side navigation bar. Use these calls as an opportunity to get even more training, ask strategy type questions, get feedback, or make suggestions on what else you'd like to see. And as a special note, we still get a fair amount of questions where people are asking, hey, can the training talk about how to rank, how to reply to leads, so on and so forth. And I just want to point out, just like with last week, that all this and more has actually been covered on a lot of our prior Webfire calls, and within our training too. And although we constantly reiterate several of the key concepts, throughout calls now and in the future and all that, I just want to make sure that you guys are aware of that, so you make sure that you check out the prior calls too, because a lot of you are asking for stuff that's already been extensively covered, including some where there's like an entire call on just that topic. So make sure to check out those. And before we start, I just want to quickly go over the Webfire member rules to success. Number 1, follow the steps and the trainings we have. Number 2, don't give up. Seek help when needed, but don't get too dependent. If you have a simple question that you could find the answer to in like 10 seconds, take the 10 seconds to try to find the answer versus, trying to write support every single step of the way. I mean, if you can proactively solve it, and that seems to be the key to, again, making progress in almost anything. And third, and lastly, is no whining or negative attitudes. I think that's the quickest way to fail, is guys that are just either whining or trying to find negative stuff in almost anything that they look at. So I mean, like there's guys I've seen that if you try to rank for 10 keywords and you only rank for 8 instead of all 10, there's guys that get down about that and basically give up, where that's an extremely negative attitude where, the positive guys are like, yeah, ranked for some, that's an awesome first step, and go on from there. So a few quick announcements. Here's just a few announcements for stuff that we've been up to in the past week. First, there was a small issue that occasionally popped up with some users. Most probably never actually noticed because it was only in a few unique cases, but we fixed a video firestorm issue where sometimes if you were had like a certain computer and uploaded a certain image, it would have issues, so we fixed that. Another cool and exciting thing, we have a .edu and .gov tool in the works. So pretty cool one that we'll talk about later, but it's a way to get large authority type links and stuff for your sites, and we have a cool way to get those. And that's currently in the works, and we'll make an announcement when that's ready to be tested. We also have a schema tool in the works as well, and that's basically a cool way to tell Google more about your site. Like if you want to say, hey, this is where I have my ratings and reviews, this is where I have my About Us page. Like it's basically where you label your individual like web pages and stuff, and then Google's more likely to rank a bunch of your pages all at once. So if you've ever seen like a Google search where you see like a main website link, and then immediately underneath it you might see like 5 extra pages or 5 extra links for the same site. That's what you can do with this here. So that's kind of cool, and we thought that we would add that in here as well. So that's I think that will help a lot of you actually. And some of those were from requests of users. So again, if there's anything you'd like to see or cool stuff, let us know. We'll try to make the stuff happen. And we've announced this the past couple times, but I know there's still a lot of you that aren't aware of this yet. We have a new Facebook group as of a couple of weeks ago, and that's getwebfire.com/FB group. Again, it's getwebfire.com/FB group, and that will forward to the Facebook group page. Otherwise, it's like a really long link, so you can just go there. And if you sign up right now, at the end of the call, you'll have a chance to earn some cash. So make sure you sign up right now for that, and we'll there's members. It's really neat because there's members that are talking amongst each other. There's guys asking questions, guys helping out each other. Just a really good way to get more info, more details, and we'll also make special announcements and stuff there as well. And as another side note too, you may or may not have gotten the notices for this yet, but a short while after this call, we have an insider mastermind call, which will basically be about, we have a couple masterminds coming up, which are like one-day events where we get work very hands-on. I mean, one-on-one, we work specifically on your business or your skill set, and very, very awesome experiences. If you want to see kind of inside of like what we do, on those one-day events and some examples of people we've helped and how we help them, so on and so forth, you can sign up for that call. It will be at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, which will be probably about like an hour or so after this call right here. And that's just at getwebfire.com/MM. So again, getwebfire.com/MM, as in mastermind. And make sure to sign up for that if you want to check it out, and we can give you some more info there. And I think it's pretty cool because you can kind of see, how we've helped people, exactly what obstacles they've had, and how a lot of them probably aren't, all that far off from you. I mean, with the examples that, we give, my guess is you can probably relate to at least one or two of them, and you might be shocked at, how far they can come with some simple tweaks and stuff. And of course, now that I mentioned the two masterminds, again, we'll be covering lots of stuff there, ranging from how to tweak your funnels and create a sales funnel, how to fine tune yours to get the most money out of it as possible, how to increase the value and price points of what you have, how to pinpoint the target ideal clients more, how to tweak a sales pitch or an offer, how to do even paid ads, including how to save I'd say 80 to 90% of what the majority of people spend by not really being able to target their stuff well. We'll also talk about some other tricks like how you can buy sites or businesses with little to no money, which is I think a killer trick there, as well as how to build a list, free and cheap ways too, and the latest kind of techniques with all that, as well as any obstacles that you have, you'll share with us ahead of time, and we'll make sure to have a solution for all of your obstacles that you have during that day as well as after it as well. So any problems you have will literally be solved right then. And we have 2 of those events coming up. One is in Vegas, and that's Sunday, June 26th. And the second one is in London, which is Sunday, July 10th. So those are, again, coming up very soon. Seats are very limited. The London one only has about 4 seats, and the Vegas one only a handful as well right there. So if you're interested in that, of course, you can register for the call that will happen about an hour and a half or so and learn more about that. And again, these are just the things that we all already talked about here, about all the stuff that you can learn at that event and more. But the biggest one is, again, any obstacle you have, we will solve it right there on the spot. And this isn't just general training. This is hands-on, specifically working on your specific business, not a general example or anything like that. So now let's move on to the training for the day, followed by our Q&A, where you can ask anything that you want. So what you'll learn today, first we'll talk about some common SEO myths, then what our latest data shows, and again, we'll talk more in depth next week as the data, a lot of it is being analyzed. Still, I have a preview of what the stuff is, but a lot of the larger numbers we'll see next week in a lot more detail. And then our Q&A, where again you can ask anything that you want. So moving on to the common SEO myths. There's a lot of SEO myths out there that some experts are stating as fact, even though they either haven't really tested these things or they're jumping to conclusions too early while missing other big factors. Like they're drawing conclusions on stuff while ignoring a bunch of factors. And it's a common problem that pops up. I think half the problem are guys that just make up stuff that have never really seen or tested anything, but just assume it. And the other half of the problem is they draw, conclusions based upon what they think is the reason without actually testing stuff, or testing stuff but jumping to conclusions without actually analyzing all of the data. And I actually have a bit of a background in research data and stuff from college and whatnot, so I kind of know how that stuff goes and how mistakes can take place there. But there will be some pretty interesting stuff that I think you guys will learn. As a result of all this, we've seen a lot of people doing the opposite of what works because they're following bad advice. So we want to address several of those myths right now. So here are the 5 SEO myths, and I'll go in detail on each one. So first is exact match domain names, then follow versus no follow links, then title tags, then keyword stuffing, and then some myths with backlink use. So first up, exact match domain name myth. So lots of experts say that exact match keyword domains get penalized by Google and no longer work. And that's incredibly dumb logic. And even just common sense, you would probably understand why Google would never actually do that, and here's why. If you have, let's say you have a site on, I don't know, let's say it's a domain on, I don't know, let's say pet lizards, okay? And your site domain, let's say it's petlizards.com, and it's all about, having pet lizards and all that stuff. Do you think Google would say, well, they have an awesome site, has tons of info on pet lizards, but hey, because now they use that keyword in their domain, we're going to eliminate all their rankings because we're going to penalize them because they have the keyword that their site is all about in the domain name itself. No, that'd be incredibly dumb. It makes zero sense. But that's what a lot of people are saying. Now, the fact is that they still favor exact match domain names as long as the site also has relevant content and is also optimized for the keywords. Now, years ago, you could have an exact match domain without any relevant content and still get ranked for the keyword in the domain. But that's not the case today, and that's probably where the myth actually came from, I'm guessing. Because years ago, you could have a site like petlizards.com, and the site could have lots of info on dogs and not really have much at all on lizards, and you'd still get ranked for pet lizards because it was in your domain name. And then Google at some point penalized all that, or didn't penalize it, but they got smarter and said, hey, if there's a guy that has an exact match domain, but there's no relevant content on the site, let's not rank him for that keyword just because of his domain. Makes perfect sense, right? And it basically eliminated a lot of like the spammy sites that were just trying to get ranked for terms that weren't even relevant, and really cleaned up the search engines. But ever since then, there's been tons of experts saying that if you have an exact match domain, you'll get penalized, and that's just simply not true. I mean, we've seen it firsthand ourselves. We've seen it in our own data, which I'll share more with you next week, but some of it today as well. So again, just wanted to say that. So although you don't need an exact match domain name, good ones that are available can definitely be a goldmine for you. So I'm not saying you have to have an exact match domain to rank. That's certainly not the case. But don't think that you shouldn't have one because you get penalized, because they can still greatly be favored. So again, keep that in mind right there. But again, it's not saying like if there's 50 keywords you want to rank for, I'm not saying you have to make 50 sites all with an exact match domain or anything like that. So I just wanted to talk about that real quick. And then the second myth that I wanted to talk about, and this is a big one that I see a lot, especially when we talk about like our lead tools like the real-time lead finder and the ranked lead finder and stuff like that. And it's the follow versus no follow links myth. So there's a myth that no follow backlinks are worthless. Now, for those of you that don't know what this means, no follow, which is sometimes often called as one word, like no follow, it's a special attribute that websites can assign to external links that they place on their site, where basically they say they don't want to pass on any link juice to such links. So if you don't know what that means, don't worry too much about it. You don't have to know how it's done or why, but it basically means like if they linked to a site, Google allowed them to say, hey, make this a no follow link, meaning that even though you can click the link, check out the site and all that stuff, they didn't want Google to give any extra authority to that link. Whereas if it said follow, they would allow them to give extra, link juice basically to help, the rankings and stuff theoretically. Now, this came about years ago and was basically designed to see what sites, what links sites thought were important versus not. Now, of course, the logic of that didn't really work, and here's why. If you're a big site and all of a sudden you find out, hey, you don't have to share any link juice or any authority, what do you think all the big major sites will probably do? Any guesses? They'll have everything be no follow. And obviously in the eyes of Google, that makes no sense. So if you're, let's say, Time magazine, and you're talking about a business, and you mention their site, and you make it no follow, do you think Google says, well, because they have it no follow, we're going to assume that this is a completely irrelevant site, and we shouldn't even check this out, and oh, by the way, there's like, 100 sites, 100 news places talking about the same site, and they all say it's no follow, but even though it's from an authority site, we're going to just say no follow and give them zero credit. Do you think they'd honestly think like that? Do you think they're that stupid? Of course not. But that's what today a lot of people still think, and even though we've seen firsthand no follow backlinks still pass on authority. Because again, think about it from Google's perspective. If a site links to another site, is it still important to check it out regardless of the attribute or tag? Of course. And and on that same note too, we've also seen that even if it's not an actual link, like regardless if it's follow or no follow, if someone just has a website mentioned, and even if it's not a clickable link, so they can't even have it be follow or no follow, Google will still read the text and see that you mentioned the website. Okay, and there's still authority that you can pass on through that too. So we've seen firsthand ranking benefits even from no follow backlinks, and more so, that's on top of getting traffic benefits from all the links, regardless if they're follow or no follow. And oftentimes that's a moot point because you can target links just for traffic too instead of just SEO, even though we've seen an SEO benefit from them. So the next time that you think, oh, if it's a no follow site or no follow link, I shouldn't even bother, that couldn't be furthest from the truth. Okay, so you want to see, hey, what is the authority of the site? What's the relevancy of the site? If it's relevant to you, if it's a relevant site, has relevant content, you don't care about if it's follow or no follow. Yeah, follow itself might help a little bit, but it's such like a mute point when there's already a benefit even for the no follow, and at the same time you get the benefit of traffic either way. It really is a mute point, especially when using tools like Rank Lead Finder and Real-Time Lead Finder, where again you can even get traffic from page 1 of Google, Yahoo, and Bing, where you might not even care about the SEO benefit, just the long-term and short-term traffic there, even though it can have a benefit there. So I just want to clear up that real quick. The next myth I want to talk about are some title tag myths. There's a myth that targeting keywords in your title tags penalizes you. This is just dumb, as if people are searching for a particular keyword or question, they want to see that term in the title tag, so they know that the site is still relevant to them. This is bluntly obvious in the majority of Google search results. Like, you can bust this myth down just by doing a Google search for almost anything, and you'll see that a lot of the sites rank contain the keyword somewhere in their title tag. However, you want to also make sure to have your title tags have titles that are not just optimized for ranking, but also appealing and compelling to click on. So don't just target only the keyword and have it be zero interest or zero appealing to actually click through. You want to have an appealing title that somewhere in it contains the keyword as well. There's also another myth that you should only target one keyword in a title, but this is only a half truth, as even though you don't want 10 incoherent keywords side by side just for the sake of targeting, which a lot of sites try, you can target phrases like, what is the best organic dog food, which targets keywords like organic dog food, best organic dog food, and what is the best organic dog food all at the same time. So it's one keyword or one phrase that really targets a few separate keywords right there, because this increases your chances of getting ranked for one of them without seeming too spammy, with tons and tons of keywords in your title that don't necessarily flow well. There's a lot of guys that will have a title like organic dog food dash organic dog food for seniors dash organic dog food for puppies dash, and they'll have tons and tons and tons of these keywords, and just seems really, really spammy. That does not seem to work as well as what I mentioned right here. But there's some that say you don't want to target in your titles, and that's simply not true at all. And we actually have data to back that up. I'll share some of that with you today and a lot more next week. But definitely target the relevant keywords in your title and make them compelling. That's one of the biggest factors right there. So I really want to shoot down that myth fast. Next up, I want to talk about some keyword stuffing myths. So there's a myth that trying to use your targeted keyword throughout your content is bad and will penalize you. Keyword stuffing basically is where you have a page that use the keyword over and over and over and over again. And this is really kind of a partial truth, but it's a partial truth that oftentimes people miss the full understanding of, what to basically do here, so I wanted to clear this up. You definitely want to use the keyword or keywords throughout your content and optimize your page for it. But you don't want to overuse it to where the content doesn't flow naturally. That is key. We'll actually reveal some keyword density data in just a bit, as well as next week, but the key is to not use it too much unnaturally. And the rule of thumb, I oftentimes get asked, what is the exact amount? Well, I more so go by the rule of thumb. If it doesn't flow naturally, you're using it too much. But if you don't have it at all, you're not using it enough. So that's, again, the rule of thumb that you should really basically stick to right there. But we'll show off some more data in just a bit here. There's also another myth that you shouldn't over-optimize your image alt tags and the like, but that's only a half-truth as well. You don't want unrelated pictures to all say the exact same keyword because, again, that's very unnatural and most likely not true. But if you give relevant alt tags to relevant pictures and don't overdo it, it can definitely help and you won't be penalized. For instance, if you have if you have a website on, let's say, snakes, and let's say you have like 10 images on it, and let's say 5 of those images are actually pictures of snakes, you can label it as, snake or the species of snake or anything like that that you want, but don't overdo it where, you have 5, images that are not snakes and you try to call those snakes and stuff. That's basically overkill and can hurt you because, like, if they see you trying to call stuff a snake and trying to keyword stuff images that have nothing to do with it, then you're basically doing what isn't in the best interest of the searchers, and that's the main key that you want to kind of stay away from. You want to do always what's in the best interest of the searchers. If they're searching for certain content, give them the content that they're trying to search for. Because, again, at the end of the day, Google is just, again, looking for what flows naturally and what sites give value to their searchers. If you give value to their searchers and your writing is natural and flows well, that's exactly what Google wants. If people show up on your site and they cringe and leave like a second later, that's basically what Google does not want. And even if you optimize your site, like even if you have an optimized site, you can actually lose rankings if people click on your site and immediately click back because they don't like what they see. Because Google, first they check to see if your site is optimized. They check to see how competitive the keyword is and all that. And then based upon all that, they oftentimes then, if they rank you, they'll rank you as like a test. And they'll say, okay, let's rank the guy here and let's see if people like his site or hate his site. If they like the site, they'll tend to increase rankings. If they see that people hate the site, like they click it and immediately click back and click on another site that they then basically stay on the other site, they'll tend to rank you lower and the site that people basically end up on higher. So just keep that in mind. It's, again, provide value, give the people what they want is the number one thing that you can do. Next up, I want to talk about backlink use myths. There's a lot of information out there on the proper use of backlinks, and there's also a lot of incorrect info among all of that too. Some experts say that backlinks are dead, but that couldn't be further from the truth, and I don't know why people say that because it's so easy to disprove if they just look at the data. Even though you can rank for some keywords without a single backlink, that has always been true. You've always been able to rank on page 1 even without any backlinks. But having backlinks can speed up your rankings and rank you higher in a lot of cases, especially for more competitive terms. If you're competing over a non-competitive term, the backlinks won't necessarily be a big factor. But if it's a competitive term, they'll look at the authority of the backlinks and all that right there. However, at the same time, the days of getting 10,000 irrelevant backlinks are mostly over, at least in a lot of cases, as a few high authority backlinks will beat out 10,000 crappy irrelevant backlinks almost any day. But even then, there are some backlinks that still work even with less ideal backlinks, or what I call bulk backlinks. For instance, one trick that you can do is to have a forum post on a high authority site. So a popular site, have a forum post on it, and then in your post, mention your link or anything like that, and of course a natural, valuable way, and then buy hundreds to thousands of backlinks to the post. So not to your site, but to the post that your link is mentioned on. Bulk backlinks to high authority sites seem to not set off the red flags that they would to smaller or unknown sites. But either way, links from authority sites still carry huge weight by themselves too. So any day I take a smaller amount of authority site links over a ton of, larger, more so irrelevant links, but you can still, send, bulk links to an authority site, and if you're mentioned on that authority site, have some of the juice carried over to your own site right there. So that's a little trick that we've seen right there that is kind of cool that I thought you guys might enjoy as well. So now let's briefly talk about what we're currently doing with our data. So we can track tens of thousands of sites, rankings, internal site data, and so forth to see what works, what doesn't, what the current trends are, what the changes in the search engine algorithms most likely are, so on and so forth. A lot of the data is still being computed and analyzed because there's a ton of data and computing power in it. So it was actually taking a little longer than expected. I was hoping to get that all out by today's call, and although we got a good chunk of it, there's still more being computed and some stuff that, once you even have the raw data, you have to analyze and compare it to a bunch of stuff to really get like a summary that gives you usable data. And if you haven't been in like research or analytics, or if you don't have a background in that, it might be a bit more hard to understand. But we'll actually be revealing a lot more detail on next week's call on what the latest data is, and I'll break it down for you by numbers with actual stats. So it's not just me, saying, hey, this is what works. It's me saying, hey, here's what the numbers are saying. So you don't have to trust me. You can look at the numbers because, again, numbers don't lie. But so far, here are a few things that we're seeing. And again, we'll show more exact data, percentages, numbers, and all that next week on next week's call. But here's just a few takeaways and a preview of what we're essentially seeing right now. So here's some of our data findings from Webfire. And again, we'll go into a lot more detail next week and give you some actionable things that you can do next week to also increase your rankings based on our data. But here's a few things right here. A majority of page one rankings contain all or most of the target keywords in the title. Several page one rankings are also for similar keywords, like ones that Google will essentially autofill or know what you're basically talking about. For instance, if you optimize your site for auto repair Madison, even though automobile repair Madison is a different term, Google knows that those are comparable terms, and a lot of page one rankings will not only be for your target keyword, but also for comparable keywords as well that Google knows basically mean the same thing. So you can actually pick up a lot of additional rankings based upon that, and we're seeing a major trend in that right here. There's also a significant drop in keyword targeting when you compare page 1 to page 2 and 3 of the search engines. And what we mean by that is, most of the sites that are on page 1, a large chunk will have the keyword being targeted either all or mostly, in the title. Whereas once you go to page 2 and 3, there's a significant drop where a much lower percentage of the sites target that keyword there. So what that tells you is that if you're on page 2 or 3, maybe look at what your title basically says, because clearly there's a major trend that if you target in the title, you're more likely to be on page 1. Also, this is really interesting right here. Many of the page 1 sites have 0 backlinks. Now that might surprise a lot of people, but there are definitely some that majorly benefit from backlinks, so we'll get a lot more detail next week, but we've seen backlinks can pass on a lot of authority and can help with some of the more competitive terms, but we're seeing a lot of rankings where, the majority of sites on the page one don't have a single backlink, which I was shocked to hear that, a lot is, even for like the, of course these are for, probably less competitive type terms, they have 0 backlinks at all, and they're ranking on page one. Now, of course, for more competitive terms, we'll break down, more info on what we find and stuff there to give you some actionable data that you can take action on. But, this just goes to show that, yeah, backlinks have a lot of authority and can help, but you don't need them to rank for a lot of terms. So I thought that was a pretty interesting fact there. There's also a significant drop in keyword density going from page 1 to page 2 or 3. And basically what we mean by there is page 1 uses the keywords more. So the keywords that are being ranked are basically mentioned more within the content on page 1 rankings, whereas page 2 and 3 mentions them significantly less, and we'll get, again, exact numbers next week and all that. The other thing too, we've seen some places say that, other kind of tags don't make a difference, like, H tags and image tags and all that. Well, we've seen that they actually do appear to make a difference, and that, a large chunk of page 1 rankings, appear to have a significant increase in the targeting of the keywords and the tags and such. And that's just like a quick preview of a few of them, but again, we'll show a lot more with the exact data and actions that you can take based upon the data to help your own rankings, and we'll talk about that next week as it has a bit more time to basically analyze all the data, compute it all, and compare it to a bunch of different stuff to give you actual actionable steps that you can do. So again, in about like an hour and 15 minutes or so, we'll have another call, which will be kind of, again, the Insider Mastermind call, where you can find out more about the Masterminds. That's at 4 o'clock Eastern Time, which you can actually check out at getwebfire.com/mm to register for that call. So we'll have that link out in the chat box for you if you're interested. But now we'll move on to the Q&A and the cash giveaway right after that as well. So Sean, I know you've been on the call and answering lots of questions in the chat, but if you've seen any common questions or anything like that, you can shout some out and we'll try to answer as many as we can, and then we'll take a brief break to do the Facebook group giveaway. So make sure that you join that. You have to go to getwebfire.com/FB group, and you'll see a post up from Sharon, who's also on this call. And what you have to do is, if you basically leave a comment on that post about what you thought of the training, we'll pick a random person from that to win $100. And we'll do that right now in just a few moments. But again, make sure you go to getwebfire.com/FB group. If you haven't joined yet, you can join, and we'll approve you very, very quickly right now, so you can do that post and all that. But having said that, we can start the Q&A, and then we'll take a short break to do the cash prize. So Sean, if there's any questions or anything, you can feel free to mention some, and we'll start to answer them.
Hey, y'all. First question, which is a good question, somebody was asking, can they get a copy of the slides in a PDF file because it was hard to take notes for all those detailed points, and the answer is yes. When we post the webinar replay, we'll post that. We always do. So for any of the training sessions that we do, you're always going to get these slides in a PDF format, so you can download them, print them, do whatever you want to do with them, throw darts at them. It's completely optional. They're your notes. You can do them as you would. Karen asked, Brian, what do you find is the best keyword density percentage? What's the target that you would want to look for, which really obviously would be a range?
Yeah, so I mean, we'll actually reveal the exact data next week, and we'll show you, hey, what's basically the difference between page 1 versus page 2 versus page 3 versus ones that aren't ranked. But my rule of thumb is, don't overdo it, but at least mention it once or twice. But the quick data basically showed, and we'll get the final numbers, but the quick data, if memory serves right, it was in the ballpark of, I think, about 0.6%. But there's some guys that try to keyword stuff, and they'll be up in like the they'll have like 3 or 4% of the keywords will be that, and that's just like way overkill. So don't think too much of that. But again, next week we'll show the exact numbers. But basically, you do want to use the keywords at least a couple or a few times throughout your actual post, but don't have it be essentially overkill where like every sentence contains the keyword.
Good. All right. So Bob says, I have sites that are primarily videos. Do I need to have text on my site to improve the ranking? And the answer is, first of all, yes. But there's two parts of the answer. One is, as Brian was just discussing, you need title tags and headers and things like that, the meta description, so that the search engines can easily read what the page is about. But you also do need some text, even if it's just a short description of what the video is about, because you have to remember, search engines can't watch videos and interpret what's in the video yet. So you literally have a video about anything you want to, and have text that says it's about whatever you want it to say, and it could be complete fiction as to how the two relate. But it's important that you give Google and all the other search engines enough detail so they can understand what the page is really all about and what the video is about. Otherwise, there's no way that they're going to be able to rank the video based on those keywords. Let's see. William said he has to leave. Yes, thank you, William, for showing up. Whoops, now the page is moving too fast. Oh, this is a good question from Dana, Brian, because we were just talking about these yesterday. He says, podcast titles seem to focus on coming up with cool titles, which you can see what that would be because people are scrolling through them deciding which podcast to download, versus SEO keyword title-based titles. So, how does it work with SEO title ranking, by which I think you really mean, is it more important to have a really cool title, or is it better to have one that's got the keywords in it? So, Brian, I'll let you take that.
Well, we actually addressed that on this call here, as well as on like a bunch of prior calls. But the key to rank and get clicks is to do both, because it's kind of like saying, to live, which is more important? Should you drink water or eat food? Ultimately, drinking water is a bit more important, but if you don't eat the food, you'll die too. It's kind of the same way. Like if you have a compelling title, but you don't have it, can contain any of the keywords that you want to rank for, you might get guys that click through, but if you never rank for them to click through to start with, it's kind of irrelevant. Likewise, if you have only an optimized title and you only have the keywords and you get ranked, but you don't get the click-throughs, you not only will lose the ranking, but you won't get the traffic too. So really, you want to kind of have both. Like, an example I gave on a prior one is, let's say your keyword was, puppy potty training. If you just have that as a title, it's not terribly compelling. You might get clicks through, you might not. But if you had perhaps a title of like, cool puppy potty training trick - 5-minute trick or 5-minute method or anything like that, half of that title is not optimized at all and basically irrelevant from like an SEO point of view, but it's compelling because if anyone sees that, they're like, holy crap, a 5-minute trick. Yes, I'll definitely click that and see what that guy has to say. So, you get the click-throughs, you have it be appealing, and that works there. Now, if let's say, if your goal is to not rank and it's just to pay for ads and stuff like that, yes, then have it be focused totally on trying to get the most clicks and make it as appealing as possible. But if your goal is to actually get free traffic and actually rank, you want to at least contain the keyword. Like, you might have the most appealing title, but if Google does not know what it should rank you for, you're basically screwed. So again, keep that in mind. And again, it's really like asking, if I want to live, do I drink water or do I eat food? And it's, you do both.
You definitely eat. Never skip eating. That's really important as far as I'm concerned. So William asked, so it's just partly we're slightly overthinking it, but what's the best number of keywords to include in the title tags and the meta tags that's not considered to be too much?
Well, I mean, that's again, that's kind of like asking, how much water should you drink? It's the same thing. It really depends on the case. It's like if your key. Okay, so going back to the example that we gave on the call today, if your keyword was organic dog food, you could have a title of like, what is the best organic dog food? And that title by itself targets not only the phrase, what is the best organic dog food, it also targets best organic dog food and organic dog food. So even though they're all related terms, they're all one big long phrase that can be broken down, it can actually target those three separate terms there. Now what some guys do, which we found isn't really too ideal and can come off basically spammy, it worked years ago, but it seems to be having more issues now, is guys might say like, they'll have a title that will say weight loss tips dash weight loss tips for men dash weight loss tips for seniors dash weight loss tips for teenagers dash, and like they'll try to like basically put a bunch of keywords in a title that don't necessarily flow well or make sense, and you want to kind of use common sense. Like imagine if you saw a book and it said weight loss tips for teens and weight loss tips for men over 50 and weight loss tips for women. You'd probably think, what the hell is this? And you probably would toss that book out immediately because you think, like, this doesn't make any sense. So try to do, the exact same thought process here. And there's not really like a set, like, you want to have exactly X amount of keywords in the title. You just want to make sure the main keyword or two that you're trying to target, make sure that you have it mentioned, basically in the title. Now, if you have a website, and let's say there's 10 keywords that you're trying to rank for, your website could have, 5 or 10 different web pages within that site, or 5 or 10 blog posts within that site, where, each page you can basically target each separate keyword that you're trying to actually rank for, as long as each page has relevant content to that term. So hopefully that makes sense. But next question, Sean?
Next question. All right. Amelia has a good question, Brian. Show the Facebook page, because she wants to know where she's supposed to post a comment.
Sure. Give me just a second here. And that would be, I just refreshed the page here so you can see it.
And William said cool to your answer to the other question.
All right. And that would be right here. Sharon did this post right here that says, how did you enjoy the call today? And you'll just do your comment right here. Looks like we have...
No, that's how you read the comments, Brian. So you're not being helpful. Click on the button that says comment right there above William Mallett's name, and you can make a comment.
Oh, yeah, but I meant like right here is where you see all the comments, and you'd make your actual comment here. But yes, to actually do the actual comment, you'd have to click comment.
Yeah, that's all. Piece of cake. All right, good. So Dan is having trouble getting his site ranked for the keywords stroller travel system and baby stroller, and he said that it's showing that the pages he's trying to rank are 90% optimized for SEO when he analyzes them. So what should he do next?
Sure. So two things with that, and this is oftentimes like a misconception. One is just because your page is optimize for the keyword does not mean you'll rank for that term. You can optimize your page 100% for the keyword diet, and it doesn't mean that you'll rank for diet. You'll want to use the main keyword tool to see how competitive those terms are. So if you have an optimized site for diet, but the main keyword tool says, whoa, this is like super, super competitive, you won't be able to easily necessarily rank for that. You can, it just takes more work. Whereas you want to find a keyword that is less competitive and at the same time optimize your site for that. Now without seeing the keyword baby stroller offhand, my guess is that there's probably a ton of stores that are trying to optimize for that exact phrase. Think of any baby store or shop, they'll probably optimize, way, way, way more, and you're probably fighting against a ton of guys, whereas there's probably ways where you can find, I'm guessing you're probably an affiliate, but, if not, that this works too. You can probably find like a sub niches within the baby stroller which might work. Like, for instance, there might be certain kinds of ones where you can target those words better, and you can use, again, the main keyword tool to try to target those better. You can also write reviews and stuff where you target specific product names of specific kinds of like strollers and stuff like that. And of course, you can also target, and this is a big one too that I've seen a trend with, you can also target questions. Like, what is the best baby stroller, or what is the best, baby stroller for running, or, terms like that, because what's cool with that is anyone that's saying, what is the best, stroller for running, they're probably looking for what? A good running stroller, right? So if you can give them useful info and help them with that, you're more likely to rank for that, versus if someone just types in, baby stroller, all the other major sites, like the stores, the major brands that have tons of authority, are far more likely to rank higher for those terms right there. So hopefully that makes sense. But that would probably be the start of what I would do then. And then after you get that initial start, after you identify keywords to kind of break through, then, target maybe, a blog post a week, or, a web page or an article a week where you're trying to target those different terms. Also, check out like YouTube and stuff where, again, you can make videos trying to target those terms too, because those can rank not only on Google but on YouTube at the same time. So those can help as well. And then, of course, if you find that there's a product that has a high profit margin, but let's say it's a super competitive one, you can use tools like the real-time lead finder and the ranked lead finder and the other lead tools to proactively find guys asking questions about there, and go out to the guys asking questions right now, give them value, and make sales that way as well there.
Excellent. So Debbie wants to know, this is a good question. She's got a Shopify store, has a lot of products. How does she get all those pages to rank?
What's that?
So Debbie has a Shopify store. She has
Yep.
a lot of products in her Shopify store. She wants to rank the pages with the products in Google.
Basically, it's probably the exact same way that you'd rank almost any page. I mean, it all comes down to targeting, the lesser competitive keywords as the title tags. So regardless if you're a Shopify site, a WordPress site, an HTML site, a Drupal site, or whatever site you have, the exact process is basically almost the exact same thing. It's trying to target, the proper keywords, using the main keyword tool, and trying to identify the ones that you'll have the easiest chance of actually ranking for. In fact, we've had, lots of e-commerce and Shopify type guys, use the tools to get those rankings. And one kind of cool thing that, in your case, a lot of guys miss this, which I think is like one of the easiest and most powerful, fixes, is to use image alt tags on the images of the product. So if you sell, let's say, a Siberian Husky dog mug, or like a coffee mug, and you have a picture of a Siberian Husky mug as your product, make sure that the image alt tag of the actual image says Siberian Husky coffee mug, okay? Because not only will your site be more likely to rank for that term, the actual image itself can oftentimes rank at the top of Google, and when people click that, they'll go straight to your site where they can buy that. And that literally is like a super easy fix to do, but a lot of people just completely ignore that.
Okay, good. She said that answers that. All right. Marty, the answer to your question is yes.
All right, should we give guys maybe another minute to do a post, and then we'll do the cash prize draw?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, so we'll give you guys another minute. It is 1 minute to the hour. So we'll give you guys another minute to do that post. And again, the link to go to the page right here is just getwebfire.com/FB group. So I'll give you another minute, then I'll refresh the page, and we'll pick a random winner off that.
Okay, good. Alvin had a good question. What can he do to fix a site's technical performance?
All right, so that can actually be a few things. So if you click on the Advanced tab inside the site analysis tool, you'll see a tab where it'll be like a breakdown of the text side, and it'll basically tell you like if it's slow or anything like that. But usually the majority of cases are one of two things. First, it could be that your host is just slow. So if you have a bad host, and you can get a better host. The second thing is it could be you have some like very large images or videos, so you don't so you didn't really optimize the size of the graphics. So like if you have an image that's like 10 megabytes and you're meant to have one that's like a tiny fraction of that, that can slow down the time to load the pages and all that. But I mean, realistically, that's not one of the biggest factors in rankings unless you go like way overkill. Like if you have a huge image and it takes forever to load your page, that's a red flag. But as long as it loads okay for you, that's one of the smaller factors where you can always improve that more. But that's the main two things that I would look for right there. So if you uploaded a video or like an image, make sure to check the sizes of those and make sure that they aren't too big there.
Okay, let's get to the important stuff. Giving away money.
All right, so let's do the draw right here. I'll just refresh the page in 10 seconds, okay? So we'll do a 10-second countdown, and then I'll pick the random winner. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.5, 0.25, 0.1, and 0. All right, I'll refresh the page, and let's see, we have 44 comments. All right, we'll load those up, make sure we have all of them there. All right, just want to make sure they're all showing. I see there's a lot more guys that are using the actual images now, Sean. I think they're onto our method.
Well, right. So we need to tell people not to use images in the future, or else everybody's got to have an image to use, and we're just going to junk up the page.
Oh, it's all fine. Images are cool.
Well, we want to be fair to everybody.
We'll be fair. All right. So yeah, what we'll do here is here's what I'll do to make it more fair, so it won't even matter if they use an image. So Sean, or how about this? So we don't put ourselves on the line. Let's have Sharon pick a number between 1 and 6.
Are we going to let Sharon talk?
Yeah.
We never let Sharon talk on these calls. Okay.
Talk. So this is her moment to shine.
Sure. She typed it in Skype 5.
5, you guys. Number 5.
Oh, see, we let her talk. All right, show of hands. Put a 1 in the box if you think that Sharon is my wife. So many people think that. Now some people are going to be like, there's no way I'm putting that in the box because it's like a trick question. Yeah, see?
Now.
See, some people know she's my sister. Yeah, lots of you think that she's my wife. She actually is my sister. Yeah.
So one if you think she's his wife, two if you think she's his sister, and three if you think because they're from down south that they're both. Have to always mix in the southern jokes there.
All right, so she picked 5, Brian. So go to 5 so we can give away money. Now that you're done picking on the poor dumb Southerners.
5 would be the bottom third. So what I'll do is
that makes perfect sense. 5 being the bottom third.
Yeah, 1 and 2 the first third, 3 and 4 middle.
Never mind. Don't explain.
All right, so that would be right there. And what I'll do now is there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's 9 possible people. What I will do is, let me see here. Good way to do that. Let me see. I will do, I'll just scroll up.
See if you can make this really complicated.
Yeah, all right. So I wrote down right now the numbers 1 through 9 on a piece of paper, so everyone has an even space. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I'm going to scroll up and down on my piece of paper here, Sean, and you'll say stop at any point in time, and I will stop.
Okay, so you ready?
Anytime you're ready.
Get set. Stop.
All right. We are at number 4, which would be the 4th one down. That would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Paul Moya. So
all right, congratulations, Paul.
Moya, if that is you, you are $100 richer right now. Just make sure to contact our support at support@webfire.com, and they'll make sure to get you the $100 over. Just make sure to send us your PayPal info, and we'll get you squared away today, and that's all great. So with that, guys.
Oh, we're not done.
We're not done? What's left?
Well, we can't be done because I decided we're not done. Okay.
Okay, we're not done.
Well, the reason that we're not done is that I'm not sure if we talked much about this at the beginning, but coming up in 54 minutes, we have our Mastermind webinar, where we're going to talk about the Mastermind sessions and some of the stuff that we've done to help some of our Mastermind clients. So if you're not registered for that, you should be. And just you'll get a lot of great info. And if you had questions about whether or not a Mastermind session is for you, we'll be answering those questions there. So it's no requirement that you actually have to attend, but you'll get a lot of info out of attending. If you're not registered, Sharon, can you pop the GoToWebinar link in the chat box for everybody if you're not registered? But it starts in 53 minutes now at the top of the hour. So I just want to make sure you guys are focused on that and aware of that. The other thing is, did we talk about the actual upcoming workshops in London and Atlanta?
We did not talk about that yet.
Okay, just so you guys can save dates, at least for the one that's in London. So we're going to do a live 2-day training that's free for Webfire members and $497 for people that aren't Webfire members. In London, it's going to be the 8th and 9th of July. It's a Friday and Saturday. It will be in London, in Kensington, right near a train station. It's very, very accessible. For those of you who joined us last September at our event there, same exact hotel. And we'll give all the information to everybody once they sign up. We'll have the sign-up page done in the next few days, but if you want to just save the dates, mark them on your calendar. We're going to do that. We're also going to have an event in America and then the U.S. In Atlanta. It'll either be in August or September. We haven't figured out the dates yet because we've got to figure out a whole bunch of other stuff first. But it will be in Atlanta. And so those of you that are in the States, you can come here, or you can use it as a good excuse to visit London in July, which is a time when it will be generally warmer in the UK, although there are no guarantees. Last year in July in the UK, it was 90 degrees at the beginning of the month, and by the time we got there later in the month, it was like 50 degrees and rainy one day. So you take your chances with the weather always, as our friends in the UK know. But we hope to see you at one or both of those workshops, but I want to make sure everybody's got those dates down, and also we'll see you later on. And Matthew says, Brian, the Australian Mastermind was sensational, so you did a good job there. All right, so we're there, baby. We're there. And Paul, make sure you pop us a message with your PayPal address so we can send you money. And with that, Brian, we are now wrapped up. Unless anybody's got any other questions, post them up real quick, and we'll go from there. I'm not sure. I'm going to say your name is Amalia. Hopefully I said that right. We won't have that. We will have the PowerPoints for that, though, that we'll make available to you. All right, any other questions? 3, 2, 1. Oh, and Tom has a question, Brian, if you can add it to the list of things to do. He wants to add a US Com to the keyword tool as an option. Darren, webinar PowerPoints. When we post the replay of the webinar, right next to it, you'll see a link to download the PowerPoints. So like for last week's webinar, when you look at the replay, you would see the PowerPoint. So this one will get posted up later tonight or tomorrow with the PowerPoint. All right. Very good, everybody. Go back to work now. Take this stuff, put it into action. Just keep moving forward, building your business. Some of you are getting great results because you're taking action. Some of you are thinking too hard. Taking action is going to win over thinking, seriously. So go get some stuff done, and we look forward to hearing more great success stories from you.
All right, guys. Thanks much.